Hi, everybody. My name is Joe K. Welcome to another day in the underground. Today, I have a very special guest. He has been probably one of the most banned underground artists on the internet. He goes by the name of Playboy The Beast. Playboy The Beast, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man. We've been talking about it for a long time, so it's good that we're, finally making it happen, man.
This has been a long time coming, man. I'm very excited to talk about your journey, your life, where you're at now, and like every other time, I want to start from the beginning. So let's start from the beginning here. Like, tell me a little bit about where you grew up, kind of what your childhood was like.
I was born in Iowa, bro, of all places. A lot of people probably don't expect that. But yeah, so my mom, she was 16 when she had me. She was a teen mom. My dad went to prison right away, shortly after, my mom had me and shit. So he wasn't really around. So my grandmas and my aunts and shit, they really helped my mom a lot, raising me until he got out. And then when my dad got out of prison, he went and he was living with my grandma on like a farm and shit. So on the weekends, I would go out there, see him, see my grandma, spend time with my dad, and you know, just try to catch up on old times and all that kind of thing. Um, and then I started getting in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like as I got, I guess around 10 years old is when like the behavior problems in school started, bro, and just wilding the fuck out, getting into fights, getting kicked out of school. Eventually, my mom kicked me out of the house, went to stay with my grandma, my dad. Me and my dad started selling drugs together. He'd let us party and shit over there. You know what I'm saying? And
Around, was it 10 years old is when kind of the trouble started.
yeah,
Were you up until that point, like, were you pretty good kid in school? Like, were your parents together at this point? Like, had they already split up?
yeah, they were split up from the jump, bro.
Okay.
He got her pregnant and they went their separate ways. My dad went to prison. At that point, my mom had met another guy though, and that's actually where I got my last name from, Knutson. He actually adopted me eventually. They got married and shit, and he was a really good guy, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So, okay, so your dad goes to prison.
yeah,
You're with your mom at this point, and now your stepdad, and your
yeah,
stepdad ends up adopting you. You're 10 years old.
yeah.
You kind of start getting into it. Like what kind of things are you getting into at 10 years old?
Uh, at first it was just there was no drugs, there was no alcohol, nothing like that. It was just I was an angry kid, bro. Like I just remember always being angry and just wanting to fight and just shit pissing me off and an authority problem, like teachers would tell me shit and that would piss me off. I was also, for whatever reason, trying to be a class clown and like to try to make the other kids laugh in school and shit, so just always doing stupid shit to, make kids at school laugh, trying to be popular, you know what I'm saying, and all that shit. And yeah, just eventually escalated into like full blown fucking juvenile delinquent. And yeah.
When you were in school, and like you kind of described it like just kind of like class clown and stuff like that, like, were you like getting into fights with kids at school? Were you like bullying kids? Were you bullying the bullies? Like, what was that like? What was that like in school for you?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, bro. Like we would vandalize shit, you know what I'm saying? Like fuck shit up in the classrooms, getting into fights, started our own little gangs and shit, these little made up gangs. One of them was called the Mob. We all wore fucking gold chains and that was like our fucking our little gang shit. Yeah, just the, average shit, nothing crazy, you know what I'm saying? Eventually I got kicked out of school for punching the principal, and then threatening to shoot up a school and shit. That was when I got a little older. I think I was like 12 at that time, but
Okay, yeah, that'll do it. That
yeah, yeah.
that
Oh
will
yeah, especially
definitely
at
do
that
it.
time too. It was a different time back then, and that was like shortly after one of the first big school shootings and shit. So they didn't play about that shit back then.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So when did you end up getting kicked out of school then? Like how old were you when you first got kicked out of maybe the first school? I don't know how many times this happened, but
Yeah, so there was a lot of suspensions and stuff first, but then at 12 years old is when they finally kicked me out, and then they sent me to a day treatment, and I was in there for a few months, and that's when I started getting locked up and shit.
what do you think led to you kind of lashing out like this at that age? Like, was there a particular trigger that happened? Was it just like hanging out with the wrong crowd at school, like, or in the neighborhood? What do you think, looking back on it now, was kind of the catalyst for you doing these things?
I feel like a lot of it was just the way I was born, my temperament and stuff. Like I was just naturally kind of born with the chip on my shoulder. But then also the way I grew up, though, you know what I'm saying? Because when you don't have a father figure that's there 24/7, and, my mom was young, like I said, she was 16. And, I don't remember a lot from my childhood, but it was pretty hectic. You know what I'm saying? I was all over the place, different people watching me, taking care of me and shit. Like, and my mom used to party back then. And, um yeah, different guys around, you know what I'm saying, used to see different guys at the house, like yeah, a lot of that kind of shit. And I guess that'll just kind of fuck a kid up, and eventually start having some behavior problems and shit.
What were your like? Do you remember your interactions with maybe some of the boyfriends or
Yeah,
things like
yeah, I
that?
actually remember a couple that were really cool, man. One of them that was around for a while, his name was Steve, and he actually ended up getting in a car accident and dying eventually. But he was really cool, man. We used to go riding bikes together, you know what I'm saying? And really good guy, man.
Yeah, that's good. I think given the circumstances, like having a couple of those good interactions are
Yeah,
probably it's probably important. At that age,
yeah.
especially. Like,
I
you know,
definitely got lucky. Like none of them ever beat me. I didn't get by anybody, you know what I'm saying? I didn't get nothing crazy like that. Thank God nothing like that happened, you know what I'm saying? So very grateful for that, dog. Like,
so you're going through all these things, in your childhood. The family dynamic is kind of shifting. It sounds like fairly often.
yeah.
When did you said you moved in with your grandma?
Yeah, yeah. It started off
When
with
did
my
that
grandma.
happen?
I think it was probably about 12 years old, like around the same time when I got kicked out of school and everything, and then got sent to the day treatment center. I was staying with my grandma at that time, and that's when my dad was still living with my grandmother out in like it wasn't really a farm, but it was out in the country and shit, small little town, maybe like 15 people in the entire town, just on the outskirts of a bigger city.
Okay. And what was your time like at the day center? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so every morning you wake up about 7 o'clock in the morning, they pull up in a van, they go pick everybody up, and then they take you to this compound. And you're in this compound all day, just having treatment classes. You go to school, you do everything. Sometimes you'll take UAs and stuff like that. Anger management, drug treatment classes. Um, if there's issues with other people there, they'll call a group. They'll be like, group. And then everybody has to go get in a circle. And then we'll talk about whatever happened and shit. And I was one of the younger kids in there. It was me and like two other 13-year-old kids at that time. And they hated us because we stayed fucking raising hell in there. You know what I'm saying? So we were always causing issues. These older kids just wanted to do their time, go home. You know what I'm saying? And us younger kids are in there just raising fucking hell, bro. Yeah.
Jeez.
Stealing shit, smoking cigarettes, fucking throwing chairs through the walls. Just, man, it was all bad.
Were you getting into any like substances at this time? You mentioned the cigarettes, and obviously
Yeah.
being what, 13, 14 at this
Right.
point, like you're already smoking cigarettes. Like what other things are you getting into at this point that is getting you in trouble?
Yeah. So at that point, I had been drinking a little bit, with the homies every once in a while on the weekends. We get a couple 40s or some shit. And then just experimenting with weed, not an everyday smoking weed yet. But that came shortly after, you know what I'm saying? But at that time, I was just kind of just getting into it. And then some of the older kids that were in the day treatment, they started giving us weed and shit. Next thing you know, you're smoking every day. And yeah.
Okay. So you get out of there. You're back, I'm assuming, are you back with your grandma when you get out of there? Or are you back?
Yeah, well, I got kicked out of that program. And then I got sent to another program and then another program. And then I got out. Yeah. And then I went back to my grandma's again and my dad. And then that was around the time I went to high school, ninth grade. And
Okay.
around that same time, my grandma sold her house. She moved into town. And then my dad got his own house. So me and my dad went and moved in to our own house.
And is this your mom's, your dad's mom?
Yes.
When you
Yep.
say your grandma? Okay.
Yep.
So at this point, is your mom like out of the picture? Are you?
Yeah. She wanted me back at that point in time. She was trying to get me back, but I was having so much fun. My dad and my grandma let me do pretty much whatever. My grandma was an angel, though. You know what I'm saying? She didn't know about none of the drugs or any of the crime shit. But yeah, there was no way I was trying to go back to my mom's because she was very strict, bro. Like as not when I was younger, but like when she got with my stepdad, she got really strict, and I didn't like that shit at all. You know what I'm saying? I was to that point where I just wanted to, live my life and hang out with friends and, all that kind of thing. So I wasn't having it.
When you were with your grandma at this point, you mentioned she didn't really know kind of what was going on there. Like looking back at that situation, like do you ever like feel bad like the things that you may have been doing at the time that you're just like, man, my grandma was so like, she just didn't know what was going on. Like, is there anything in particular you think of that you did that you're like, man, I can't believe like I did that at my grandma's, or my grandma not knowing or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of times, man. Like when I was staying at my dad's, she would come over right to the house, and we would be having parties because we had the party house. So all the kids from high school would be hanging out over there and shit. She would come over to the house and just weed smoke. Like you could barely even see to the other side of the room because there's so much weed smoke. And my grandma walks in, Billy, where you at? You know what I'm saying? And we're in there fucking trying to hide the alcohol, but the weed smoke is just like, you know what I'm saying? And she's like getting secondhand in there, breathing that shit. And she was so cool though, bro. She would take me and like a whole carload of my friends to fucking Hardee's and go get us food. And, we're fucking doing acid and mushrooms, tripping, or just all fucked up. And, she would just take us and spoil us. And yeah, good times though. But yeah, I feel bad about that now, especially looking back at shit, because she had no idea, man. She was just such a sweet person.
Yeah, it sounds like it, man. It sounds like grandma was awesome. Sounds like
Yeah.
grandma
Oh,
grandma
yeah.
was definitely cool.
Yeah, bro. She's the type, she would just like, if somebody's hitchhiking on the side of the road or, panhandling she's going to help them 10 out of 10 times, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that anymore, but that's just the kind of person she was, bro. She would take that chance.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
so you're in high school at this point. You're throwing freaking ragers at grandma's house, like just the biggest ragers, weed smoke billowing out of the freaking every room of the house.
Yeah.
And at this point, like, are you playing any sports in high school? Like, what does the friend group look like at this point in time, going into ninth grade in high school?
Yeah. So at that point in time, it was just other juvenile delinquents, other kids that were selling weed, selling drugs, were involved with gangs and shit like that. And that was pretty much it.
Okay.
There was no sports or nothing like that at that point in time. They kept trying to get me to go out for wrestling and shit, but I couldn't do the singlets. That was my thing. I couldn't. That was just weird, at that time. I was like, I ain't gonna wear that gay ass shit with my fucking legs hanging out. You know what I'm saying? Now I look at it and I'm like, man, I really wish I would have done that because it could have helped my MMA career, later on and shit. But
Yeah,
you
hindsight.
live and you learn. Yeah.
Hindsight's always 2020, man.
Yeah.
And I think too, probably what people were seeing in you was like, hey, if we could just channel
Yeah.
this anger and this rage, like get it into something productive. I think
Facts.
that's usually what, knowing what we know now, like being adults and stuff, it's like you kind of see what people were trying to do at that time that
Oh yeah.
you just maybe weren't having it. You just weren't having it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That could have saved me, man.
So okay, so now you're progressing through high school. I assume the things that you're getting into at this point are, ramping up a little bit. You're getting into harder and harder drugs, it sounds like. You mentioned, doing acid and things like that. I assume that all of the behavioral issues that you had been, going through kind of in your your earlier years in your teens, those are probably getting worse at this point. Is that safe to assume? Like,
Oh
what
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
things are happening at this point now? Like, what does it look like? You mentioned your like childhood, like little gangs and stuff like that, but now you're getting into high school and I'm sure it's getting a little bit more serious. Tell us a little bit about that point.
Yeah. So at that point, it was just like doing breaking into cars, breaking into houses, vandalizing shit. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely it had progressed a lot, but I wasn't into the hard drugs and stuff yet. So it wasn't like my whole life. It was mostly just partying. Every once in a while, we might go, commit some crimes or some shit. But more than anything, we just wanted to party, smoke some weed, sell some weed. You know what I'm saying? Just make enough money to party, get some drugs, and it was kind of harmless at that point in time. We were just kids and just doing our thing. And we had our little party house and we'd get into fights sometimes or go meet up with other kids and get into fights and shit. But it was pretty harmless at that point in time.
Okay. And at this point, like, are you having girlfriends now? Like, What do those
Yeah, yeah.
relationships look like at this point in time? Like, are you just out partying, or are you getting in any serious relationships at this point in life?
I guess I was kind of shy, you know what I'm saying? Like I like girls, but I was so shy at that point in time. So I wasn't like a ladies' man at that point in time. But all the girls at school loved me, you know what I'm saying? But I was just kind of like shy and intimidated by girls at that point in time. So I wasn't like, I had a couple girlfriends here and there, you know what I'm saying? But it was never nothing real serious. I was always just kind of scared of bitches at that point in time. But that definitely changed over the years, and then I turned into an animal, bro.
All right, so tell me now. You graduating high school? Did you
No,
graduate high school? Tell me about
no.
what happened there.
So I'm trying to think. So I went to the what do you call it? The day treatment. Then I got sent to the training school, and then I got sent to a group home. I was in the group home for 5 months, and that's when I got out, went to high school. And then after that, I ended up getting sent to a boot camp. And in between there, I also got involved in some harder drugs. That's when we started doing meth. A lot of my friends stopped hanging out. It was pretty much just me and one or two of my other friends, and me hanging out at my dad's house with a lot of like Sons of Silence. I don't know if you ever heard of them, biker gang and shit. Um, Mexican mafia, shit like that. You know, it had escalated to where it was just me, this kid, hanging out with a bunch of grown ass men, selling meth, doing meth, manufacturing meth. Um, within like the course of just several months, you know what I'm saying? It went from just harmless partying and shit to next thing you know, like I'm a fucking little meth addict. I'm prowling the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning with a pistol and a knife on me, and I'm just robbing shit 24/7. And that's all I wanted to do was just rob shit and sell drugs, make drugs, just trying to get high 24/7. It's a little dope fiend, bro. You know, it was terrible.
Do you think a lot of that had to do with the people that your dad was bringing around, or were these all people that you had been friends with in high school that you're bringing around, or was it a mix of
No,
both? Like,
yeah,
what was the
yeah.
thing there?
I think it was a mixture of both. So when me and my friends were partying one time, one of my friends found a meth pipe in my dad's room. And so up until that point, I don't think he had been fucking with that shit. He would just been, partying with us, smoking weed, um, pretty harmless stuff. And then he started getting back into that. And I guess maybe when I seen that, some of my friends started bringing it around. My dad found out we were doing it. Next thing you know, it just kind of escalated to now me and my dad are smoking meth together, cooking meth together, and doing all that kind of shit.
That's an interesting bonding experience there
Oh,
between between you and your dad.
yeah.
So, okay, and are you still at your dad's house at this point, or are you still at grandma's house? Because you mentioned like having to go to boot camp and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah. So boot camp, I was about 14 years old, I believe. And I had gone back to my mom's for a little bit during that time. She moved to another town where my dad lived. So I moved back in with her for a little bit. And her husband at the time, she had a new husband and shit. They'd bought a house. So I went and stayed with her for a little bit, but I got locked up almost right away after staying with them. But mom was really cool, bro. Like, she was there for me when I was locked up. Every time I got locked up, she would always come to visit, bring me snacks, you know what I'm saying? And was always very supportive. So that whole time at boot camp, she visited when she could, and then, was just there for me, you know what I'm saying? And when I got out, I went and stayed with her. But the first day I got out, one of my old friends that wasn't doing meth, all of a sudden while I was gone, he started doing meth with his mom. So when I get out, I find out one of my best childhood friends is now smoking meth too. So I come over there and boom, first day I'm out, I'm back to smoking meth. Just got out of boot camp, bro. You know what I'm saying? And dog, I had like all the PFT awards, you know what I'm saying? Did the drill and ceremony shit, like just excelled in boot camp. But yeah, the moment I got out, bro, I threw it all away.
why do you think that was? Like, it? It sounds like you were making progress, obviously, but then you come out and like you just kind of jumped right back into the same crap you were doing that got you there in the first place. Like, was there anything in particular that kind of set it off, or was it just like, what was it?
I think it's just I didn't have any desire to actually change at that point in time. I hadn't lost enough. I hadn't hit rock bottom. And also being that young, it's hard to have that level of self-discipline to, get off drugs like that. So if you're smoking meth when you're 13 years old, and you get addicted on something like that, it's definitely hard to get off of. And yeah, I just really didn't care at that point in time. I just hadn't seen the bigger picture, and I just wanted to keep doing that shit. And I guess, maybe I probably wouldn't have done it, but just the way it worked, like as soon as I got out, one of my friends comes around and just so happens now he's the meth plug, so it's like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like it was really easy to fall back into that, that same pattern you were in. It also sounds, not to overanalyze it, but it also sounds like you always had kind of a fallback, like you mentioned, like you go to your grandma's, you go to your mom's, you stay at your dad's, like you seem to always have people in your life, good or bad, whether they maybe enabled it or not, I don't know, but it sounds like you always kind of had a fallback.
Oh yeah.
If things got tough.
Yep.
When did the music begin in the midst of all of this stuff going on?
Yeah, so I'd say I've always loved music, always loved it. Oh my bad, my dog's barking. Jesus Christ, 1 second, bro.
You're good.
That's gonna be a problem. Oh yeah, my girl's already on it. Who the fuck let him out? My girl's on shit, bro. She gonna make sure. All right, where were we though, bro? Right before that,
the music. So like when did you start the music? Where does that fit into all of this other craziness going on in your life at the time? When did music come into the picture?
All right, so I've always loved music, always wanted to rap, but never really, got into it or even took it serious until I started getting locked up. When I started getting locked up, I started writing poetry, reading the dictionary, all that kind of stuff. So that's when it really began. But even then, I didn't get into a studio until my mid-20s when I got out of prison. Like the last time I got out of state prison, that was the first time I'd ever gotten in a legitimate studio. And prior to that, it'd always just been a dream. But like when I used to do meth and shit, bro, I don't know if you remember like LimeWire and Napster.
Oh yeah.
So I would download those instrumentals. And I would just sit at the computer, just smoking meth, snorting meth, and I would just freestyle like 24 hours straight, bro. Just freestyling, just fucking twacked out of my mind. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one reason I got so fucking good at it, though. Like I don't recommend it. Don't do it. Don't go do meth to be a better rapper. But if you're really desperate and you want to step your game up, bro, maybe good.
I think there's a few people out there that are definitely trying to go that route. I don't know if it's working for them or not. Quite like it did for you, but.
Right.
Okay, so now you're getting in and out of prison. You're dabbling in the music. You're downloading crap off LimeWire and stuff, and probably getting God knows how many viruses on that computer.
Yeah.
But you're getting practice in at this point. So, who are some of your influences that you're listening to, and who would you contribute to kind of maybe being the one to kind of spark the flame in you to kind of get going in music?
Yeah, so the very first time I've ever performed live I was 10 years old, bro. I don't know if you're familiar with a group called Onyx, and they had the song Slam. So that was my shit. When I heard that when I was a kid, bro, like that just like, I was like, damn, this is what the fuck. So my dad had this big ass stereo and shit, and I memorized the song. And one day, I guess I just told my mom, like, hey, check this shit out. And when the song would come on, I would play the song and I'd put on my baggy clothes and shit, and I would rap along to the song. And that was the first time I ever did like a live performance. And my mom thought it was the coolest shit ever at the time. So I wasn't rapping at that time, but I was performing, and then I forget what was the question even? I forget.
No, you're good. You're good. So okay. So you started with, you heard Onyx. That kind of made you inspired to start performing and, just, kind of messing around, obviously, at that point, right? But that was the thing that kind of sparked it for you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and then Bone Thugs and Harmony, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, Criss Cross, all that kind of shit back in the day, man. I fell in love with the first time I heard rap music, bro. It was like an addiction or like, a drug to me, bro. Like I was absolutely infatuated with that shit.
And were your mom and your dad like both listening to rap music at this point? Like was one listening to it over the other?
None of them were listening to rap music. My mom didn't listen to rap music. My dad, or my stepdad that adopted me, that I was living with at the time, he was a big metalhead, bro. So I got, you know, that experience, which I'm very grateful for, bro. Like he used to listen to White Zombie, Pantera, you know, just a lot of underground shit that a lot of people don't even know, you know what I'm saying? And like I grew up on that and I didn't like it as much back then, but now that I'm older, bro, like I fucking love that shit. You know, I listen to that probably more than I do rap a lot of the times, bro. So yeah, I was grateful to be exposed to that. And I think that also helped with my development as an artist, you know, and being diverse.
When did you decide that you needed to start recording your own music? Like, you know, now you're in and out of prison.
Yeah.
Maybe you're starting to take music a little more serious, but like when was the moment that you're like, hey, you know what, I can actually do this and I'm going to do this?
So that was when I was doing MMA when I got out of state prison, and the owner of that gym got me in contact with some people that had a studio. Prior to that, it was just always, I've always wanted to record, but you know, back in my days, bro, not everybody had a home studio. Like you had to have like a legit studio connect back then, you know. So that's why I never recorded before. That's why there's not music for me when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, because the technology just didn't exist back then. Um, but when I got out of prison, I was doing MMA. The owner of the gym, John Bollinger, shout out to the homie. Um, he knew that I rapped and had wanted to, you know, pursue that. And then I had an injury from the gym and stuff, or not from the gym, but while I was doing that, I injured my knee and stuff. So I wasn't able to, you know, compete anymore. So then he got me in contact with the studio, and and it was all fucking balls deep after that, bro. And just fucking, that's when yeah, all
When
music.
so the MMA thing has always been interesting to me because I've seen some of the old footage. Yeah, I saw that years ago. I remember you putting that out there. Definitely threw me off and I was not ready for that, you know. But what kind of got you in the MMA field there, and tell me about, you know, that fight. I don't know how many fights you had, one or two or maybe a handful. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so my uncles that I looked up to, my uncle Mike and my uncle Gabe, those were like my father figures, and even my dad after he got out of prison. Um, that was kind of how we bonded and stuff, you know. Like my uncle would get into fights and he would call me up and I would be there to have his back, you know what I'm saying? Or if I got into a fight with some kids and I needed to have somebody to make sure I wasn't going to get jumped, I would call my uncles, and I always worked out with them, trained boxing, you know, not wrestling, but I was always a pretty good wrestler just naturally. But you know, so that was just always there. You know, I kind of came up with them boxing, lifting weights and shit, you know, and idolizing them and thinking that's cool, you know. I didn't idolize drug dealers or people getting money. I thought whoever is the toughest motherfucker, the craziest, like that's what's cool to me, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how my uncles were. And my uncle Mike, big ass white dude, man, just knocking motherfuckers out, bro. Like anybody that knows that from Mason City, that area, that knows of him, bro, knows hundreds of people. You know what I'm saying? Like he just used to fucking wreck people. And so I've always had that influence. And then when I was in the training school, I met another guy that worked in the training school, and his name was Brad Schaefer. And he'd actually fought Dan the Beast Severn at one point in time and went all rounds with him and shit. Um, and that was somebody that I looked up to in there, you know, because at that time I was really into working out and stuff too. And he would come to my cell and mentor me and stuff, you know, and kind of took a liking to me as well, and would just give me advice, you know, like, hey, when you get out, this is what you need to train, da 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 da. So that was just something I was always interested in, and just a big fan of UFC, MMA, you know. And so yeah, when I got out and the opportunity presented itself, man, I went full steam ahead. And that also helped me stay off drugs. It helped me stop drinking. It helped me do all that shit, you know. And I was hustling. I was selling some weed and shit on the side and making money, but I wasn't partying. I wasn't doing anything. I was training every day, and that's it.
Was there a certain point during that time where you made a choice to kind of go down the music path versus the MMA path?
Yeah, it was when I got injured, when I fucked my knee up and shit. I was partying with my homies and shit, and we were running from some cops and jumped a fence, and I kind of blew my knee out then, but it didn't. It was like 3 days later, wrestling around with some friends and shit, when it completely snapped, bro. Like the ligament in my knee completely fucking popped, and I couldn't walk for several months after that and shit. And that's what did it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess music it is now.
Yeah, it. It's definitely interesting. You know, it feels like you never do anything halfway. Like that.
No, no.
That's what I get from it. Is like whatever you do,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you go 110% at it, good or bad. Like
yeah.
you're going all in. So it sounds like that's what you did, you know, in your earlier days. That's what you did when you know, did the MMA thing. I think that's, you know, definitely what you have done in your rap career too. You know, every step along the way that I've seen, you've always done, you know, whatever subgenre you're diving into at the moment, like you're going full throttle at that.
Oh yeah.
Um, Tell me a little bit about that, because where you are now, and I definitely want to get to that, but kind of where you started from, completely polar opposite ends of the spectrum, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I think the earliest songs I remember from you were like Mark of the Beast and a lot of like the horrorcore stuff, the devil worshiping stuff like that. Like that was the kind of the time frame that I remember. And I think one of the first videos I saw of you that kind of put you on my radar was, I think it was the Don't Funk Up Our Beats contest,
Mhm.
because you had done like, you took like 3 of the beats and just went crazy. And I
Yeah.
was like, who the heck is this guy? Like, where did this guy come from? You know, like the chopper flow, the lyrics, like everything was just so good. Especially at that time
Thank you.
too. It was so
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
above a lot of the other people that I was seeing. It definitely, in my opinion, helped you stand out. Tell me about what you were rapping about when you first started, and kind of what that progression has been like over the years. And maybe if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing that first record label and like the people you're hanging out with at that point and rapping with, and like tell us about that time.
Okay. So yeah, the label that I was with early on, bro, like directly from MMA, was a group called the Heavy Hitters out of Minnesota. So when I was doing that, it was straight like gangster street rap. There was no horrorcore, there was no juggalo type shit. It was just straight street shit. I put out a mixtape called Bleed for the Streets. It was just like all gangster rap. You know, that's the life I was living and shit. But as I got my own studio and I started getting more comfortable in, you know, observing other artists that I looked up to, and you like I grew up on ICP, bro. Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I was always drawn to darker shit like that. I liked violent, aggressive stuff, you know. So if it's violent and aggressive, I fuck with it, you know. And I guess that's just kind of what it eventually evolved into. I met a chick on Facebook and was talking to this chick on Facebook, and that's how I found out about Satanism. And she explained that to me, and that's when that became an aspect of my music. And then I kind of discovered more of the horrorcore artists and shit, and I just started to develop and get more into that side of things. And it's just because that's what I liked, you know, like when I made that music back in the day, bro, it wasn't to be edgy. It was because I wanted to inspire people to be violent. I wanted to inspire, you know what I'm saying? Like I know it sounds fucked up, but I wanted people to get out there and go fucking shoot some shit up, go stab somebody, just get out there and fucking, like, that was my goal with the music. You know, it was never like, oh, let me see, you know, I want to be edgy. You know what I'm saying? Like that was never. I meant this shit. The shit that I'm saying, like I'm fucking all this stab kill shit. Like that's how I felt, you know. And it was kind of like a therapy, I guess, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It was definitely interesting, you know, coming in at the time of the horrorcore era of Playboy the Beast.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty long era, man. Like that would seem, it
Oh yeah.
seemed to me at least to be a pretty long era.
Yes.
I definitely liked, cause I, you know, as I dove in, always got to backpedal and dive deeper into the catalog. And you know, the gangster rap stuff was good. Like the flow and stuff has always been very good and tight. Like it's
Right.
been really tight and well put together. So regardless of what you've done, that's always been there. So it's interesting watching the progression from you over the years as you jump into these different subgenres. You mentioned the first label that you worked with when you were starting into the horrorcore scene. That's where I remember seeing a whole lot of controversy, and there was a whole lot going on there, you know, with different artists and things like that. Would you mind sharing maybe some of those early rap beefs, and if they're still, you know, going on today?
Yeah. So The first like label that I actually like signed to or whatever was Sick Fucks Entertainment with Jimmy Don. He was like one of the first guys to discover me like early on, like almost as soon as I started, bro. You know, he reached out to me and he's like, hey, uh, here's this offer. You have 24 hours to make a decision. Let me know. And I'm like, shit, did some research. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hell, these guys are legit. At that time, they were fucking with Hobson and Jelly Roll and all these guys. So I'm like, yeah, seems like a cool opportunity, you know?
Who
So
who was on that label at that point when you joined?
was Gruesome, Killer Capone, all the guys from Dope Sick, Basic Music joined around the same, like the exact same time. I know they had Oz. I don't know if you remember Oz. He was on the label. A couple other guys, I think. But yeah, they had a dope roster, and they were really doing a lot of shit in the underground back then, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely remember them because they had so many good artists on that label. You know, it was a stacked roster, man. It was
Oh, yeah.
crazy, especially for the time.
Yes.
It was freaking bonkers. Tell us a little bit about kind of what happened there. Like when did the falling out start?
So with them, I remember I left, I came back, and then I left again. I think there was really no beef or anything. It was just me trying to go do my own shit. I didn't feel like, you know, I was really gaining anything from it. It was kind of me, ride or die, sick fucks. And I was like, damn, you know, I'm not even getting anything out of this, bro. It's like me repping hard as fuck for this label. And, you know, I don't feel like I'm appreciated and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like me putting on for the team, but I don't feel like anybody's putting on for me. That's how I felt at the time. So I left and eventually moved to Minnesota, I think again, and then came back for a little bit. We networked, did some shows together. And then I don't remember what happened. Eventually I left again. And then that's when I tried to start Murder Music on my own.
Now, I don't know when this occurred, but at some point during all of this, didn't you perform at the Gathering of the Juggalos?
No, they invited me probably 4 different times, bro, and just something always came up where I wasn't able to make it, which sucks because that was always, as a lifelong juggalo, like old school juggalo, that was one of my, you know, bucket list things that I always wanted to do, but financially and stuff was just never able to make it happen. But we did get some of our artists on a couple times, so.
Okay. And maybe I'm just losing my mind, which is definitely possible. But I swear at one point I remember hearing some story about you at the Gathering. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of here. Like, was there some wilding out at the Gathering at some point?
That was probably Frankie Grudge. I know we were beefing with some of the same people and they like tried jumping him at the Gathering and shit. But yeah, we had some of the same enemies, and those guys that jumped on him were guys that I was beefing with at one point too. So that might have been
Okay. Yeah, that must have been what I was thinking of then at the time, because I was like, man, I don't know if he was performing there or if something just happened there that popped off.
Or you might be thinking of one of the shows that I've done at the Roxy, because every time I perform shows at the Roxy, like I'd get blackout drunk and fucking pop pills and shit. Is that it? Okay, yeah. I don't even know which time, bro. Like the time that I destroyed the ATM machine, the time that, you know what I'm saying? Like the time that I punched out a fucking window and damn near lost my arm, or like, it was all bad, bro. Like, and that's their fault though, bro. They have a Jaeger dispenser at the fucking venue, bro, a Jaeger bomb machine. And all the artists get unlimited access to this machine. So as many Jaeger bombs as a person wants, you know what I'm saying? And at that point in time, I like to drink, I like to party, and one thing leads to another, bro. Next thing you know, you're fucking doing roundhouse kicks and fucking headbutting fucking ATM machines and punching windows out and shit, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, you don't do anything halfway. So you
oh, right. Yeah.
Keep the Jaeger away from Playboy the Beast. That's the
100%.
moral of the story here. Keep the Jaeger locked away.
Yeah. And they banned me from the venue, but rightfully so. Like there's no hard feelings there, bro. Like they have a business to run. They can't have somebody like me there, you know, potentially doing harm to somebody or vandalizing their shit, you know? So no hard feelings there for me. Back in the day, I probably did feel some type of way about it, but now that I'm older and I look back on it, it's like I had that coming, you know? I'm surprised they put up with my shit as long as they did, man.
So you start Murder Music.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How are you feeling at this time? Like, are things in your rap career like kind of taking off? Are you feeling like you're getting a lot of momentum? You start Murder Music. What did that look like for you?
So I had just moved from Minneapolis, Minnesota with my 2 baby mamas and our 2 kids. in a Jeep and nothing else. We just threw everything we could fit in this fucking Jeep and we drove to Colorado Springs, stayed in a hotel for a couple weeks, eventually found an apartment. And then I found a job doing some landscaping. This is the first real job I've ever had in my life at this point that I actually held, you know what I'm saying? But I knew I had to do what I had to do to take care of my family and shit. So, you know, I stepped up and did that. And yeah, like almost immediately though, as soon as I moved to Colorado and started networking with some of these artists, some of the guys from LSP, um, Hex Rated was one of the first artists that reached out to me and put me on a show out there. So I started networking with him, Scum, all those guys and shit. And they just, dude, the music scene in Colorado to this day is it's amazing, bro. Everywhere else I've been, every other state I've been, there's nothing like it. Not even comparable.
So are you just at this point, it's only you on Murder Music? Are you starting to think about bringing people in? Like, when did that start?
Yeah, so I actually dropped a song called Murder Music Anthem, and then I'm like, well, fuck, I want to start my own label. I need to start my own movement. So Murder Music, you know what I'm saying? That's what we just ran with it. You know what I'm saying? I thought like, what can I come up with that best represents my style? I didn't want it to just be something satanic or, you know, I wanted it to just sum up the whole of what I do in murder music, hardcore, aggressive shit. That's what I was on at the time. So that's why we ran with that. And the first artist that we brought on the team was Hurricane. I don't know if you remember him. Yeah,
oh, absolutely.
Chopping ass motherfucker, bro. So he was the first one, and then Basic Music eventually joined. And then he actually moved out to Colorado Springs too, you know, so we could network and do shows together. Used to go hiking all the time and shit. That's the homie, man. But yeah, it was initially just them, and then it kind of evolved, and where eventually we had probably like 30 or 40 different artists on and off the label over the course of the next few years.
Yeah, I remember definitely a lot of movement going on. People coming in, heading out. It was crazy for a while there. It was hard to keep tabs on who was in and who was out, and who was who was a permanent fixture and who was just passing through. During this time, I remember you just pumping out tons of features. Like, I can't think of another rapper that has like done more features. And honestly, with given all the features you've done, and given kind of where I end up in most of these conversations, I've never heard anything bad about, features or things like that. How many features do you think that you have done up until this point?
So I'm old school. I still write all of my lyrics on paper, and I've saved every single one. The last time I counted over a year ago, I had over 1,000 written songs. That's everything. That's like my releases, features, but there was well over 1,000 at that point in time a year ago. Since then, I probably dropped 200 or 300 more songs and features and shit, you know? So yeah, we're looking at least probably 1,000 features at least.
It's freaking crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. And just in like 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like everything, moral of the story, you don't do anything halfway. So you're full throttle. You're going to do features. You're going to do a million features, you're going to do what you need to do. So that's always cool to see. And what would you say are maybe some of your favorite features that you've done, whether they've been, them paying you for a verse or you guys just collaborating, period.
Ooh, that's a good question, man. There's so many, bro. That's just like, fuck.
Let's just list off your favorites, and then anyone you don't name, you obviously hate them, and then they can, they can start beef.
God, I know I did a whole bunch for the homie Flip Capone, right? So he's actually on my team right now, Street Soldiers Entertainment, but it started off with him just hitting me up for features and shit. And I realized how dope he was, bro. I'm like, fuck, so next thing you know, I bring him on the team, and now we just dropped an album together of collabs that we did. So pretty much everything I've done with him has been super solid. I just did one for an artist called Just Trey. He's with Upchurch, and that was a really good one. That was the first song that I did after being bedridden for like 8 months. That was the first song I recorded. So that was like a milestone for me, bro, and like just something that I guess, just something I'm proud of, bro, because I went from, not being able to record to fucking laying down some shit that, kind of snapped on it a little bit. There's another artist, man. I'm fucking drawing blanks right now. He's a bigger artist. He has fucking several 100,000 fucking subscribers, but he hit me up a couple years ago to get on a song. It's the Bad Dreams remix. I forget his fucking name, man. He's done songs with Tech Nine and a lot of bigger artists. But that was a really good one, bro. And that was one of the first, bigger artists that actually reached out to me and showed love, bro. It's like, hey, it's fucked up what they're doing to you, bro. I really want to get you on a song. And sent me that, and that's pretty rare within the rap game for some reason. But
Is that high res?
High res, there you go. That's it. Yep, yep.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's a good dude. Yeah, that's a good motherfucker right there, bro.
So okay, let's back up because we're getting to the really good stuff now, guys.
Yeah,
we're getting there. We're so close. We're so close. So you start Murder Musick. You're bringing in artists. Things are growing. I think that's an understatement. Like that, you guys were, in my opinion, like one of the major underground labels there for a good bit. At some point, relatively recently, in the last couple of years, you decided to kind of part ways from the label that you created. Tell me about what went into that, who ended up getting the label, and kind of the direction that it may be in now.
Yeah, so it was something that had kind of been coming for a long time. There was a lot of internal beef, and there was guys that I was stuck in the middle. I would have all these different artists messaging me about each other, you know what I'm saying? Complaining about each other. When we would do artist promo, I never threw myself in that lineup. I wasn't worried about, I was never selfish. It was like, we're going to promote you guys, and this is what we're going to do. But sometimes guys wouldn't promote each other. So then they would come to me, hey, this guy's not promoting me, da 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 da. And we're just having all these issues. So I would talk to some of my, guys that I trusted and say, what do you think we should do about this? And we would come to a decision together. I would then announce the decision. And then when the blowback would come, I'm taking all the fucking heat. And these guys are just silent. You know what I'm saying? While everybody's shitting on me like I'm an asshole, bro, when I've done nothing but invest money and use my platform to put these people on. Never did bad business, never scammed these people, never took shit from them, gave them free features, got them on at the gathering. You know what I'm saying? Did all this shit just out of the kindness of my heart. But when I decided I'm not going to do that anymore, then all of a sudden I was this terrible fucking person. And I just got tired of dealing with that shit, so that's when I'm just like, all right, fuck it. We're going to burn this shit down. And I'm just going to worry about my fucking self. I'm tired of trying to help other people. This is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing it anymore. And that's when Murder Musick officially came to an end. And that was shortly after I moved from Colorado to Minneapolis to North Carolina. We had just got to North Carolina, was ready for a new start. And that's when we made that official.
Okay. Now, when you ended Murder Musick, and it was kind of, I don't know, from a fan perspective and an observer perspective, it was kind of weird because it was like it still existed, but didn't really but it didn't have you there. So it's like having a label and not having the main artist there. It's kind of like what is going on?
Yeah.
It's right. Kind of weird, It was just kind of weird.
It'd be like strange music without Tech Nine. It just
yeah. It's like, well, what is this now? Like you're like, I mean, it kind of feels like that sometimes when you lose like the major artists that are on a certain labels. You can't replace those people because they are the core, and with Murder Musick, like you're the guy. You are Playboy the Beast is Murder Musick, and Murder Musick is Playboy the Beast. Like, it's synonymous. So
initially we were just gonna completely be done with it, and then somebody had talked me into it. He's like, man, let me take the reins, bro. I'll keep this shit going because I didn't want to do it for me. I wanted to do it for the fans because there's so many fans that have Murder Musick tattoos, and it means the world to them. You know what I'm saying? So I was led astray on that, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it. The fans want it. I don't want to take that from them. So let's give this a shot. But that was short-lived. The dude posted something on the Murder Musick page that was kind of taking shots at me, it seemed. He said that's not the case, but the fans seen that shit and they were not having that, bro. So they got in his ass immediately, and then he's like, fuck it. Like, yeah, this isn't going to work. You know what I'm saying? So then it completely dissolved at that point in time.
So Murder Music is no more. I don't know exactly when the shift started, if it was immediately after that or if it was kind of during that period. I'm trying to recall, but maybe you can fill in some of the details here. But your messaging kind of changes, you know, it shifts a little bit from, you went from kind of the hardcore gangster rap to the hardcore horrorcore rap to now you're kind of in this transitional phase of, I don't even know what you would call it. Like, what would you call kind of what you're on now and like what you're
Well,
doing now?
even what I'm on now is different than what I was doing
Yeah.
then. You know what I'm saying? Like,
True. So in that intermediate phase of like
yeah.
when you first started the shift, what were you calling that? Like, what were you doing exactly?
So it actually started in 2016. That's when I became politically aware, but I wasn't making that kind of music. I was on social media posting about Trump and getting hell for it. People calling me a white supremacist and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? And this was when it wasn't, you couldn't be a Trump supporter back then. If you're a Trump supporter, you're automatically a Nazi off the bat. You know what I'm saying? So I got people telling me, oh, I don't listen to you no more, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're this and this and that. And that's when it started. But I still dropped Self-Made, Self-Paid around that time. There was no politics, but there also was no Satanism. I went back more to my gangster rap roots, but very lyrical, you know, lyrical gangster rap. And I was also selling a lot of weed at that point in time. I lived in Pueblo, Colorado. So, you know, I self-made, self-paid. I was getting a lot of money selling, you know, and had money to invest in shit. So that was, you know, a lot of hustling and talking about what I was living at the time, bro. Everything I do is because that's what I'm living at the time, or that's what I'm going through at the time. So that's where I was. But when I moved to North Carolina in the middle of the country, you know, I'm not in the streets anymore. It's me, my family in the middle of the fucking country. We got a horse pasture next to us. We got mountains on the other side. I'm going hiking every fucking weekend. You know what I'm saying? That definitely changed me. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a different atmosphere. I'm not going to be rapping about street shit no more. I'm not going to be rapping because I'm not living that life, bro. Like I wasn't selling drugs no more, nothing. So, um, politically, I was still on the same shit, you know, but I still wasn't really doing it in my music yet. But on social media, I'm going to war still, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to enlighten people and I'm getting banned left and right. But it was 2020 when I dropped the first official like pro-Trump song, and that shit blew the fuck up. And then they nuked me completely off every single platform on social media. Everything that existed, they fucking nuked me. We had an artist page that was verified that I'd had for, you know, several years that had like 200,000 plus fans. That disappeared. My Instagram, my everything, bro. They just wiped me off the face of the earth. The moment that I dropped a political song.
What was the name? What was the name of that song?
That was Stand Back and Stand By.
Okay. I remember that song dropping.
Mhm.
I remember the immediate fallout that occurred.
Yeah.
And I remember at that point, that's when a lot of the ties to, I mean, I don't even know if I could say the word. Like, that's how crazy it is, man. I'm going to say,
Yeah,
dude,
I know.
this whole interview, just so everybody knows, like this freaking interview could be gone by tomorrow. You know, I don't know,
Right.
but I wanted to have it. I want to document history here, so we're going to try see what happens with it. But I remember that song coming out, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was really the start of the ties to like the Proud Boys and things like that.
Yeah.
Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So I released that song. All that shit happened. I had been in talks with some people of trying to join that organization already because I became aware. I seen what they were doing, and I wanted to be a part of that. You know, because it's not a white supremacist organization, bro. Like, never has been. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's black people, there's Mexican people, there's gay people, there's Jewish people. This is not a hate group. You know what I'm saying? Never has been, and hopefully never will be. I decided to step back from that right now because a lot of stuff that's going on within the club is just a lot of bullshit. But I can't really speak on that. But it was after January 6th when I officially joined them. And it was actually on Telegram. I was in Chris Taylor Brown's chat room on Telegram. He's the lead singer of Trapped. So I was in there and I was just showing him some love and I said something and somebody from North Carolina was like, "Hey, is this really Playboy the Beast, like the rapper?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is me. What's up, man?" And it was one of the higher ups of the Proud Boys in that area. And we just started talking. He's like, "Hey, are you affiliated or da da da?" And I explained to my situation. Because I'd actually talked to Enrique Tarrio before January 6th, but I wasn't officially a Proud Boy. He just showed me love because he really liked that song. Um, because on the website at that time, it said all you had to do to be a Proud Boy is just declare yourself a proud Western chauvinist. So I'm like, fuck yeah. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get initiated. I wasn't with nobody, but this is what the website said. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I'm riding out. This is what I am, bro. Um, but later on, after January 6th, after the rally and all that stuff, in that chat room, homie reached out to me and he said, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Man, I'm trying to get down." So him and another homie, big ass Cuban dude, he probably like damn near 7 foot tall, fucking jacked as shit, bro. They come and they meet me just to make sure that I am who I say I am. You know what I'm saying? Making sure I'm not an informant, that I ain't got no sex charges. They run a background check, do all that kind of shit and just kind of fill me out. And great fucking dudes, man. The best dudes that you'll ever meet in your entire life, bro. The entire concept behind that organization is to build better men. And that's why I joined that organization. I went from a street dude, a criminal, a guy that cheated on my girl, you know what I'm saying, and was doing all this kind of shit to being around these kind of guys where I'm like, these are real men. These guys work 9 to 5s. They own businesses. They're not cheating on their wives. They're involved in the church. They're doing fucking all this stuff in the community. So that made me want to be a better person, bro. And that's also it's because I wanted to kick some ass. I wanted to get in the streets and beat the fuck out of Antifa because I still to this day, I don't rock with that shit. And if shit goes down within a certain distance of where I'm at, I'm gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not with them, maybe just solo, but nothing's changed with that, bro. I'm not like Tom McDonald and all these other guys where I'm just rapping about this shit to try to cater to a certain audience. I'm really about this shit. You know what I'm saying? I really go to rallies. I really go to protest. I mean, we know that. I went to prison for the shit. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit. I remember the live streams. I remember the posts. I watched that crap. Like I watched you. I think before you had I think it was the road to the Capitol. Is what you were streaming at the time on Facebook, and I remember seeing that. And tell us about that day. Like, what was your morning like? When did you start? Heading out. Like, let's get I want an in-depth detail. Like, what did that day look like for you?
all right, so first, I got to give you some backstory. A couple weeks before that, there was another rally in DC where a bunch of Proud Boys went and they were attacked in the streets. Shit went down in the streets. One of our guys was stabbed. It was pure chaos. It was Black Lives Matter and Antifa were jumping Trump supporters in the streets. So at this rally, that's what a lot of people were expecting. So originally, we were going to make a vacation out of it, though. During the day, I was going to go with my wife, all the kids. We were going to go sightseeing during the day, Washington Monument, all that stuff. At nighttime, they were going to go to the hotel. I was going to go roam the streets and fucking curb stomp some Antifa members. You know what I'm saying? But clearly that never happened. I was driving up with my wife and our kids. Our youngest son at that point in time, he was just a few months old. And he was being really crabby. And I was like, well, I'm not going to put you guys through this. It was like a 6-hour drive to DC. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to get out and jump in with my friends over here. I'll let you guys go home. It's all good. So they went home. I jumped in with my friends and went and got a hotel, stayed there that night, woke up, chugged a bottle of Crystal Skull vodka or Crystal Head vodka and shit. And by this time, bro, like we'd already missed Trump's speech. You know what I'm saying? So we missed that entire thing. We went downtown and we're trying to find a place to parked in a parking garage and shit. And we get out, and as we get out, there's people just marching through the streets. We don't know what's going on. We don't know where they're headed. They're just marching. So we jump in with everybody and we're marching for a couple miles. And then we start to see the Capitol, in the background and shit. And we're like, oh shit, that's where we're headed. but I don't know what's going on. I think maybe there's another speech or something going on there. But as we get closer, you can see it's getting a little rowdy, but there's still like a sea of people. There's hundreds of thousands of people there. So we had to, work our way through the crowd and shit, finally get up there. By the time we really get up to the Capitol, all the violence and all the shit that they said that happened, I missed that. I wasn't at the front lines I didn't beat up no cops. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? There was none of that. By the time I got up there, everything was pretty laid back. You could still smell some pepper spray in the air and, shit like that. People were still a little riled up, and there's some situations that I actually helped de-escalate. I wasn't there to fight cops. I've been to prison for fighting cops. I'm no bootlicker, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, where I'm at now, I back the blue. You know what I'm saying? I understand that they are a necessary evil. If I'm not around and something happens, I hope that my family can call the police to have their back, So I have no issues with police these days. And I wasn't there for that. I didn't go there to assault no police or start shit with them. But anyway, so I get up to the window that somebody else had smashed out like maybe an hour before. I look in, guys like, hey, come on in, man. The police are standing down. Everything's good. So I'm like, fuck, this is pretty badass. I kind of want to go in and get some videos and shit, maybe for a music video or something. And I look in and literally all the cops are in there. They're taking selfies with people. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? So I make a judgment call and I think I should be able to go in here without getting my door kicked in and sent to federal prison. I was wrong. But anyways, I go in there, I shake hands with the cops, give them daps. Like, this is all on surveillance, bro. Like, they can't say it didn't happen. They can't say I was in there threatening cops. You can see me on surveillance, giving them daps, giving them high fives. I was in there for like maybe 2 minutes tops and then walked out. And then a year later, that's when the feds came and kicked in my door. And yeah.
What was that like? Like, you're sitting at home. Like, did you know they were coming? Did you have a feeling? Was it just out of the blue all of a sudden a year later?
Yeah, it was a whole year later, bro. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I was up here in this room with my son sleeping in bed. And I hear my kids screaming my name downstairs. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm thinking maybe somebody broke in the house or some shit. So I'm going down there ready to kill some shit. And as soon as I get to the steps, the feds is there and they're like, stick them up or whatever, bro. And yeah, put your hands up. And automatically I knew what it was, bro. I'm like, oh, fuck, and yeah. So then they arrested me and they took me in and I got released the same day. I honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I knew a lot of people were locked up for years, just on bullshit charges. I was only charged with 4 misdemeanors, basically for trespassing non-violently. But I seen a judge within a few hours and they released me. My girl was able to come pick me up. And then I was on basically like a pre-trial release for several months until I eventually had to go turn myself in.
How long did you end up in prison for?
Yeah, they gave me 6 months prison time and then 1 year of supervised release after that.
Okay. So during all of this going on, you mentioned obviously you didn't go right to jail immediately, right? Like they took you in, let you out, went through the process, and then they put you in.
Yeah.
Were you still releasing music at this time?
Yeah. And that's political music. Yeah. And so right before sentencing, I dropped a song called Free the Boys, right? So the day of sentencing, I'm getting
bold move. That's a bold move, man.
Hey, bro. Yeah. And I paid for it. You know what I'm saying? They made an example out of me, dog. But I guess just where I was trying to make a statement and letting them know that, I also didn't think I was going to get sent to prison for a fucking misdemeanor, bro. That's absurd. Like you don't get sent to prison for misdemeanors. That's ridiculous. But yeah, so the prosecutor called that morning and he's like, we got this new evidence that we're submitting to the judge the day of sentencing. And my lawyer, he's like, hey, we should probably request, to reschedule this for another time. And where I was at, I'm just ready to get this shit over with. Like I'm tired of fucking not knowing what's going on. Whatever the fuck we're going to do, let's gas up the bus, get this shit done with. So we just went for it. We went in there and pled, said, hey, this is freedom of speech. This guy is an artist. He has the right to freedom of speech. And the judge said, no, the fuck he doesn't. He's going to prison. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you go to prison. I can't even imagine what's going on with your family at this point. What's the reaction from your kids when all of this is going on?
Um, so after we found out and shit, we had to come back, and I had to hold on, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Still fucks with me a little bit, but so after court, we came back, and I had to break that news to my kids, you know, and I've never been apart from them. Always been in their lives, bro. I haven't always been the best person, but I've always been in my kids' lives. The close, they don't get no closer than us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just have us, and that's how the way it's always been. You know, so I had to come home and break that news to them, and did the best I could to try to prepare them, you know, for what was coming. But you know, of course they broke down crying. They couldn't believe it. And but like I said, you know, we were planning on them coming to visit as much as possible, making sure my girl and everything was taken care of financially, and um just set up to make this as smooth as possible. But um a lot of things you can't anticipate, you know. But you know, like I dropped an album right before going in, you know, so I had money for my books. So if they needed money, they would have it. Everybody was taken care of the whole time, you know. And shit just ended up getting kind of fucked up along the way, and ended up being a lot worse than we expected.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I was obviously on the outside looking in during all of this, and I remember just thinking like, this is just freaking crazy. Like this is bonkers. Because I you know, I remember seeing the videos and stuff of you like heading down there, and I, you know, at the time I'm like, I don't know what's I don't know what's gonna happen here, you know. And then the music, you know, the music kept, you know, coming, and you know, probably just adding fuel to the fire, to be honest, because you're getting this group, this club behind the message that you're sharing, and it's, you know, making it louder and louder and louder, and more people are starting to see it. And you know, obviously anyone that opposes that particular line of thought is going to not like that so much. And you know, it's easy then to kind of pin it on the person that's sharing the message, you know, which in this case it was you. Tell me what happened when you were in prison. Were people you know, gassing you up while you're in there? Were they like, you know, what did that look like compared to maybe some other times you had been to jail and things like that?
Yeah, so when I first got there, you know, I got a self surrender, so I turned myself into prison. We went up there like a few days ahead of time, and hung out with my brother in Colorado and shit. Got an Airbnb. Um, but this was kind of towards the end of COVID, so they were still doing the quarantine shit. So when I first turned myself in, I was in quarantine for like 3 weeks. The whole time I was there, they were fucking with my mail. They monitored all my phone calls, all my emails going out. Like they treated me like El Chapo or some shit, bro. You know, and I'm there on a misdemeanor. I'm in there with killers. I'm in there with fucking, you know, mafia bosses and shit. And they're over here treating me like, you know, like some crazy shit. But anyways, the first letter I get in solitary confinement is a letter from my girl. And she tells me the day that I turned myself in, my baby mama came from Colorado and took my son from, you know, because I've always had custody of him. She wasn't always in his life. So I had custody of him. But as soon as I turned myself in, she found out about it, and she showed up with the police, and she had the rights to, you know, take him. So that's the first news I get. And I'm in solitary confinement. I can't make phone calls. I can't talk to nobody. So I'm in there just losing my mind. My son's my best friend, bro. Like, you know, he's everything to me. And that's all I was worried about. With me doing the time, I'm not worried about shit. I can fight. I can defend myself. I'm not worried about myself at all. I'm worried about my kids and my family. And, you know, to get that news and to be completely powerless, bro, you know, I can't even explain to you how fucking heartbreaking that shit is. Not being able to console him, because I baby the fuck out of my kids, and my kids are sad, bro. I hold my kids and I make sure they know what's going on. I make sure they know that they're loved, you know, and to not be able to do that is fucking heartbreaking. But luckily, shortly after that, I got transferred to my unit. They put me on the most active unit on the entire prison, which is OB unit. If anybody has ever been to Florence, Colorado prison, that's daily shit's popping off on that unit. You know what I'm saying? It's just as rowdy as shit. And I feel like it was intentional. I think they were hoping that, you know, people wouldn't like me because I'm a Trump supporter or Proud Boy or whatever, or, and I think that was their intention of putting me on that unit. Unfortunately for them, I'd done prison time. Unfortunately for them, I know how to fight. Unfortunately for them, the majority of people in federal prison are Trump supporters. So it was all smooth sailing, bro. As soon as I touched down, motherfuckers giving me shoes, commissary, whatever I needed, bro. Looking out, bro. You know what I'm saying? Um, they come to my cell. They said, "Hey, who are you riding with?" The prisons I've been in before, in state prison and shit, it wasn't political like that to where you ride with a certain race, So I'm like, shit, I don't know. I'm like, I'm Mexican and I'm white. So who do I ride with? And, talk to him a little bit. I eventually decided I'm riding with the white boys. I don't speak Spanish, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to be riding with a bunch of like illegal immigrants that are speaking Spanish 24/7. And, that's not my people. So I chose to ride with the white boys. And that's not on no racist shit. That's just who you ride with. Your car it's separated by race. There's blacks, there's Mexicans, there's whites. So, yeah, I rode with the white boys the whole time I was down there. A lot of good dudes, met some cool people. But at the same time, my best friend in prison, even though it's frowned upon in federal prison, was a black dude. His name was Canada, or John Brown, his government name. And he was a ex-veteran, military. He was in there. Him and his brother got caught smuggling millions of dollars of cocaine across the Canadian border and shit. But that was my best friend. I hung out with him every single day. When I got sick in prison, he was looking out for me, bro. Like I couldn't get to the chow hall sometime. This guy would sneak food out of the chow hall and come bring it back to the cell. And that was just my boy, man. Like there wasn't nobody gonna tell us we couldn't hang out together. If they did, if some race shit popped off, I'd have been riding with him and he'd have been riding with me.
You mentioned getting sick, and I remember you talking a little bit about that because it got pretty serious, and I don't know if you're still dealing with it, today or not. But would you mind sharing what happened? Like how did you get sick? What was it like? What was your treatment like when you were in prison?
Yeah, so I had COVID pneumonia in August of 2021. Almost died from the shit. I was hospitalized. I was in the hospital for over a week, but I eventually bounced back from that and recovered and was never 100% after that though. And me, like I've been into MMA, working out and shit. That's always been my thing, but was never really the same. But that first 3 months in federal prison, I really started to bounce back, bro. Like I was doing burpees. I was doing more cardio and more MMA style training and stuff because they don't have free weights in there. So my health was doing really good. And I was starting to feel like I'm really, back on my shit. Excuse me. But then about 3 months in, it was December, I got sick and it was 100. I had COVID pneumonia again. They didn't test me. They refused to test me. They refused to see me. They refused to give me any type of treatment. But I got really sick, and for the next 3 months, bro, I went from 205 pounds when I turned myself into prison, 205 pounds and jacked. From when I left, I was 160 pounds and just looked like death, bro. Looked like shit. Every single day for those 3 months, I thought I was going to die every single day, bro. I did not think I was going to make it home to my family. Like, I can't even explain to you. I feel like I was being waterboarded 24 hours a day, for 3 months straight. And I kept a picture of my kids and my family on me, and I kept the Bible on me. And that's what gave me strength to keep fighting through that shit. But it was absolutely horrendous. And 2 years later, I'm not back to working out yet. I'm still fucked up. All last summer, I was completely bedridden, bro, for the entire summer. Didn't leave my bed other than go to the bathroom, and that was very difficult. So yeah, I have some lingering issues. It's they think it's autoimmune disorder that I've developed, from the viruses and shit from COVID. And then there's also some scarring and shit on my lungs. But I don't let that shit stop me, bro. I mean, I did for a few months because I literally probably was on my deathbed and could have died if I would have, but I'm still fucked up now, but I still, I'm up and I record when I can. And I've had to learn, not to push myself too hard and, just learning ways to get around it, bro. Like I might record and then I'll have to take 2 or 3 days where I just rest and I can't do shit.
So now you get out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
What is life like? What are you doing on day one? What are you eating on day one?
Yeah. So while I was in prison, the brotherhood that we were referring to, they actually gathered the money to help us get a lawyer. So while I was in prison, we filed for custody for my son. Thank God we had a good ass motherfucking judge, man, and he actually granted me custody from prison. So the day that I got out of prison, I was able to go pick my son up and bring him home. Um, so that's the first thing we did. As soon as I got out, we went and met my baby mama in Pueblo. We picked up my son and we drove home. And we had presents from him from Christmas and shit that he missed out on. And just a lot of family time. That's all we were doing. Just spent a lot of family time and just extremely grateful that I made it home alive because I really didn't think it was going to happen, So, yeah, the first few weeks I wasn't really able to record or anything. So it was just spending a lot of time with family. But the first song that I recorded when I got out was a Ouija Mac diss track because he dissed Proud Boys, and I wanted to get him before I turned myself in, but I had the album going and stuff. But so I just wasn't able to do it before I went in. But as soon as I got out and I was healthy enough to record, that was my number one target.
Okay, so the beef, you came out of prison and you were ready for some beef.
Yeah.
Second you come back, you're like, all right, who am I getting now? Who am I getting now?
And that's how I started the song too. I said, straight out of prison, I said, fuck it, I'm committed to murder. You know what I'm saying? And then we just went in after that point.
Yeah, I remember that dropping. I definitely remember that dropping. A lot of noise going back and forth there for sure from both camps. You seem to when you came out of prison. Now I feel like this evolution it's continuing, right? So we went from gangster rap, horrorcore rap. Now we're getting into I still don't know what to call it. Like what do you call it? Like how do you, if you had to give yourself a subgenre label, like what are you calling yourself and what you do?
I would say it's like conservative gangster rap, bro, because it's not like these other MAGA rappers. It's not like Tom McDonald. Like my shit is still street oriented. It's still me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not no corny shit. Like it's political a lot of the times, but it's still raw. It's still real. You know what I'm saying? There's no I don't know what you would call it, like a gimmick or anything like that. It's not gimmicky. It's not pandering or nothing like that. Like this is genuine. This is who the fuck I am. This is what I've been doing. You know what I'm saying? But where I'm at now, bro, is like I'm doing a lot of different shit. We won the election, so I don't feel the need so strongly to be out there and fighting. It was a culture war. That's why I got so heavily involved in the music then. Became so political. When they banned me, bro, that pissed me the fuck off. That lit a fire under my ass. And I'm like, okay, motherfuckers, that's what we're on. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm going to dedicate my life to this shit. And this is the fucking cause that I'm fighting for because I'm not okay with censorship. I'm not okay with all this shit that I see going on. And this is what I need to do. I have a voice, I have a platform, I have a skill set. So this is what I want to dedicate myself to and try to fight for the cause.
How many accounts do you think you've created since being banned?
Dude, at least 100. At least 100 fucking Facebook profiles, bro. And that's not even exaggerating. Like literally 100 plus.
I believe it, man. I believe it. Every time I turn around, it's like, where Playboy The Beast go? Like, and I'm sure I'm sure your inbox must be hilarious every time you create a new profile because you create it and you blow up so quick again. Like it is absolutely crazy. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, why did he unfriend me? Why?
Oh yeah. That's the funniest shit. Like, bro, why you always unfriending me? Like, people just think I'm bipolar and shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just fucking sending them a new friend request every couple weeks just for shits. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I have to make posts about that sometimes. Like, hey, I didn't unfriend you. I am bipolar, but not that fucking bipolar. You know what I'm saying? I just got banned again. So most people know the deal by now, but there still is some people that are just like, they don't know. They're like, God, this dude's fucking got issues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's wild, man. It is definitely wild, but it's even more wild to me how often you come back and you suddenly just gain, a full head of steam again. I've never seen anything like it, to be quite honest. Like, regardless of, opinions on, what side of the aisle people may be on, like, they can't say that you don't have a mass following because every time you're back in business is booming. I do want to ask you, what what did it look like during that time of like so much censorship and everything that you would do just being immediately blocked and taken down from distribution and can't upload to YouTube, and something pops off and you get, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of views, whatever it looks like, and then all of a sudden it's gone, compared to now? Like, have you noticed a difference? What does it look like to you?
Yeah, the censorship and all that stuff, it hasn't improved at all, bro. Like I feel like I'm completely shadow banned, or maybe that's just you know, a consequence of all the bans and everything from before. Maybe now it's just started to take its toll, but um, you know, I do decent numbers, but nowhere near where I should be. You know what I'm saying? For as long as I've been doing this, for the quality of the stuff that I'm putting out, the connections that I've made, um, you know, everything's just, it's still kind of fucked up, man. And you can definitely feeling it. But I'm just grateful to even be here, because a lot of people would not be able to survive the amount of bans and censorship. Like I can't think of too many, you know what I'm saying? So just the fact that I'm even here, and I still make a living off it. I'm not balling by any means, but I still make a living. I'm still able to pay bills. I'm still able to provide for my family, make investments, you know. So just that is a fucking accomplishment in itself, considering the government and big tech 100% has tried to fucking eradicate me from the face of the earth. And they have multiple times, but we still here, bro.
Well, I remember seeing a video. I saw a video of you flexing a certain kind of plaque that not a lot of other people have.
You see that on TikTok?
I might have seen it. I might not have seen it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have this? I don't know if we want to call it like triple platinum or like gold or like, you know, where this would rank. I don't know, like diamond. Like what's past diamond? I don't know. That's probably what this plaque would be. Do you have that plaque around somewhere that's easily accessible?
Yeah. One second.
Can we show the people? There we go, boys. Triple diamond from Donald J. Trump himself. Tell me about getting that.
And I'm just fucking. He did everything that he said he was gonna do, bro. And I'm just grateful that he freed all the homies. A lot of my friends got out when he pardoned everybody. There's people that had been in prison for years, bro. Enrique, he wasn't even at the Capitol on January 6th, and they gave him like 30 plus years, bro. You know what I'm saying? So he's out. There's a lot of people that don't fuck with him. I'm kind of on the fence about some of the things that have come out about him. But yeah, I'm just very grateful that he kept his promises, bro. Trump came in and he's doing everything that he said he was gonna do. He's not fucking around, bro. And that's what I've been fighting for, bro. I still love that man. You know, I would sacrifice it all again, man, because that dude is going to do everything that he said he was going to do. And, you know, that's what we need, bro, for the future of our kids. And that's another reason I got into politics, bro. I got kids, you know what I'm saying? And I care about my country. I care about how the fuck our future looks like. So, but yeah, very grateful for that. That's my pride and joy, man. I got it right up in the studio next to my other Trump photo over here. We still riding with Trump, dog.
Dude, the Trump shirts and stuff that are out there, like I think I saw a Trump flag in one of your videos, like just I don't know if it was the the one where he's like ripped and has
with the tattoos and
yeah
chains and all that.
They're out of control, man. They're out of control. But no, that's that's got to feel like a weight lifted off of your shoulders after everything that has happened, you know, and transpired over the last several years. So that must have felt great.
Yeah, and I actually have a legal representation now too. So there's some suits that are being filed, bro, and a lot of us are probably going to get paid pretty well because it's bullshit. None of us deserve to get locked up. I know the people that assaulted police and stuff, you know, that's questionable, but even then it was a setup, you know, like they went there peacefully. Nobody went there with the intentions to overthrow the government. It just didn't happen like that. It was a rally. The police attacked the crowd and they started a fucking riot, bro. And that's what it turned into for a little bit. And then, you know.
So do you think you're going to be walking into a payday eventually here, and a bunch of other people?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you are you ready for the influx of underground rappers who are going to be asking for your support?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've already got a list though, bro. Like there's some
Yeah.
artists that I'm fucking investing in, bro. This money comes through. Shout out to the homie Minus and Ty the Tyrant and you know a few others, bro. Those are some talented motherfuckers and they deserve to be heard, bro. So
Dude, Minus is absolutely crazy. Like Ty the Tyrant's great too, but
yeah.
I've seen Minus longer. So there's a special place in my
Oh, okay.
underground rap fandom for Minus.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude's elite for sure. Like
Yeah.
definitely elite. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, man. Like, and hopefully everybody gets made whole and gets made right. Cause I mean, you know, it sounds like, especially from your side of things, like there were some injustices that you feel had occurred. So definitely interested to see how that all pans out. But you got the pardon. That's huge. That's a huge step. And that in and of itself is like, it just, like I said, got to be a weight lifted off your shoulders.
Thanks.
So, okay. So we're out of prison now. You're pardoned. I do see some strange random beef going on between the Creek Squad and some other people.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know what's all going on with that or like how fresh that is right now. But I don't know if there's anything you want to mention there. I know like there's all sorts of drama going on. I don't know where that came from or how that started, but I wasn't ready for it. I'll say that.
yeah. So what I noticed about that is, you know, I've fucked with Upchurch since 2016 when he dropped the song called Donald Trump. That put me on his radar or put him on my radar, you know, and I'm not a country guy. I'm not a country rapper, never try to be. But I liked Upchurch's music. You know, I've never claimed Creek Squad or nothing like that. You know, I was a fan of the guy's music. He can sing his ass off, he can rap, he's talented. Um, Out of nowhere, all these guys start beefing with him. And it's like they're jumping on him and bullying him or trying to bully him. They can't bully him. He's bigger than all of them. You know what I'm saying? But it just seemed coordinated. It seemed like it's like, you know, like these guys are had some ulterior motives or I don't know what it was, but I don't like seeing that. You know, it's like they were trying to jump the dude. And just if I see somebody in the streets and they're getting jumped, I don't like that. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to have the person that's getting jumped, I'm going to have their back, you know? And this was a similar situation. Um Especially when I see one of the people that's jumping in is somebody that I think is a fucking lame. You know what I'm saying? And I've always felt that way about him since the Funk Volume days, bro. He's not an elite lyricist. And in the country rap genre, he is an elite lyricist because the bar is so low over there. You can just spit some ABC shit and they're like, oh, fuck, that nigga's got bar. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like in the underground, you get no respect for that, you know. But in the country rap genre where the bar is so fucking low for lyricism and you know delivery and all that shit, sure, you know there's a market for it. I'm not knocking that. But so anyways, like I said, I never really liked to do it. And I was actually gonna diss him back in the day, bro. I'm talking like 2014 and 2015. I had disses ready to go on this dude just because I didn't like him. And you know, he was getting some buzz, and I'm like, how this dude fucking sucks. You know, I hated him. So when this shit happened, I'm like, all right, motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Y'all want to jump the homie, bro? Like, let's do it. So I dropped a little bait track. I had all the homies sending it to him, hoping that he would respond. And he was smart. He had one ready to go. So he dropped it right after I dropped my bait track. You know what I'm saying? And apparently somebody had even sent him the actual song. I don't know if this is true or not. Somebody named Country Rap Rumors apparently had actually sent him the song so he could hear it. But anyways, he drops that, and then like the next day, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sitting the next round out," you know, and just like what the fuck you mean you sitting there? Like this is a battle, bro. We about to go back and forth. Like I just fucking this is my bait track. I'm about to fucking, you know, like you can hear it. It's a good song. It's catchy, but it's not what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't like a brutal. Like I'm capable of so much more. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to bait this dude in, get him to take the bait, and then hit him with that motherfucking with the nukes and shit. But he started tapping out after that. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm still dropping. If he ain't, you know, maybe eventually he's gonna be like, okay, fuck it, I gotta respond. But he never did, bro. But I dropped like fucking 4 more diss tracks on him. You know what I'm saying? Just fucking not trying to suck my own dick or gas myself up, bro. But I absolutely fucking annihilated this dude, like on multiple different beats, you know what I'm saying? And just bars, lyricism, flow, multi-syllables, everything you can possibly think of, dude. the dude tapped out. He knew what the fuck he was getting himself into. You know what I'm saying? And he blew his load on the first track. It was decent, but it wasn't great. And then he fucking curled up in a ball, and he's like, "Oh, yo, you playing the fucking big dog. I'm too famous for this shit. You know? Oh, yeah, I killed him." Nah, man. The dude tapped the fuck out. He got his motherfucking cheeks clapped, dog. He don't want no fucking smoke, man. And that's the facts, bro.
I love it. I love it. I love me some good rap beef, man. I do love me some good rap beef. So,
and see, that's what I wanted to start some shit. Like, I wanted it to be street soldiers versus their little posse over there, you know? And that's what I thought this was going to be. I was going to have my artists, this and their artists, and we were just going to have this entertaining fucking amazing rap beef, street soldiers versus trailer maids, you know what I'm saying? But it never happened, bro. As soon as I came into the shit and started dropping these nukes, like, all of a sudden everybody just stopped dropping fucking diss tracks, and now diss track season's over, you know what I'm saying? Like,
dude, it was going nuts for a while there. I mean, everybody was
right.
dropping dish like across the board. It was like somebody found the secret code or something, and they're like, "Hey, if we start dissing everybody, people, their fans get engaged, and then their fans get engaged, and then people are sharing it and talking about it. Like, it is good for business all the way around." I'm sorry, like I've seen it too many times. Like, you know, in the underground, in the mainstream, like, diss tracks are great for business. It's great for the fans to watch. Like, yeah, I'm sure some people get annoyed by it, but I personally love that crap. So I'm always for it, man. So I'm always keeping an eye out and watching the Playboy the Beast, you know, diss tracks, because there've been quite a few over the years that have they've done some damage. So I always like seeing those.
Yeah.
So what's new? What's happening now? What should people expect from you moving forward?
The same bipolar shit. You never know what I'm going to drop next. I might drop a diss track. I might drop a love song. I might drop some political shit. I've been doing a couple Christian rap songs. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing a bunch of remixes because I haven't been able to find any good producers to find the right beat of where I'm at, like, mentally. You know what I'm saying? So I've just been flexing bars and dropping remixes, just throwing them out there. But 2 days ago, I found a new producer, and man, it's just like a honeypot of beats, bro. So exactly what I was looking for. So now I'm going to be working on a new album. I'm going to start dropping, you know, new music videos every couple weeks, do that leading up to the album, and then drop a new album. All these beats are kind of like a lot of acoustic guitar, a lot of you know, that kind of vibe. It's just all real shit. No gangster shit, no political shit, just real shit, bro. Mental health, family situation, just real ass music, bro. That's what I'm on right now.
You mentioned the Christian rap songs, which for me was probably the last thing on this earth that I had ever expected coming from you. And I had heard you talking about this prior to this interview, obviously. But when did that kind of, you know, start with you? And when did you start kind of delving into Christianity and God? Because, like you said earlier, you had been on kind of the other end of the spectrum there for a minute, and Satanism and things like that. What brought you over to this side of things?
Yeah, so that was also one of the things that kind of got me involved politically. Like, once you realize what true evil stands for, it's hard to side with that. You know what I'm saying? So now I kind of realize, like, I don't want to rock with that shit, because true evil is fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking molestation, that's rape, that's murder, that's fucking, and I really don't stand with that shit no more. You know what I'm saying? Especially, you know, all that fucking chomo shit and all this blue hair left, you know, I can't side with that. So that's when I kind of stopped hating Christianity and stopped being mad towards this God, or, you know, because even the Satanism that I was into, I didn't actually worship Satan. It's LaVeyan Satanism. So it's more like self-worship. You're your own God type situation. And the imagery is just for, you know, to be edgy or whatever, you know. But 2019 is when I felt a calling, bro. Like, it sounds crazy, but there's just no other way. I felt being drawn to something, and I knew what it was, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know why or what happened, and I hit my head or what, bro. Am I going crazy or like, but I just felt this calling. I'd be working on music, and I'd find certain beats, and I'd just be thinking about, you know, the possibility of God, and I would just end up breaking down, crying in the studio, bro, and just like overcome with emotion, and I don't cry. Like, I'm not never been a crier, you know what I'm saying? But now all of a sudden here I am in the studio and I'm just fucking bawling my eyes out of nowhere, bro. And I just feel uh like a love or a warmth, you know what I'm saying? It's unexplainable, man. And till this day, I still can't really explain it. But that's when it all began. And yeah, I just knew what it was. And then, you know, when I got sick with COVID, and almost died, when I came home, I was still in really bad shape. And one of the nights I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, some people are going to think this is crazy too, but I was being protected by like a force field, like a dome of like moving light. And there was shit that was trying to get to me. And I knew what it was. It was like demons or evil or dark energy that was trying to get to me. And there was something that was protecting me, bro. And just that feeling that I felt, bro, I felt safe, but I could see, you know, this shit trying to get to me, bro. And fucking that, after seeing shit like that, because I know I'm not crazy. You know, I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like hallucination. I'm like snap case. I'll fucking lose my shit and get angry type crazy. But after seeing that, that was definitely like, okay, this shit is legit, you know. And ever since, it's just been slowly getting more into it. And now it's to the point where I'm watching church every Sunday. I'm reading the Bible every morning, reading it every night. I'm not watching porn. I'm fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm literally living this shit and not just saying, oh, I'm a Christian. Like, I'm literally practicing it. And there's nothing anybody can say. I don't, sometimes when I'm reading the Bible, I read shit and I'm like, that just don't fucking make sense to me. But it don't matter because I know in my heart, like there's nothing that's going to change my mind on this now. I've felt it. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And now that I'm living this life, my health has been improving every single day, bro. So I feel like all this shit that I've been through with my health and all that stuff has been a test. It has been to humble me and to make me into who I am now. You know what I'm saying? And it's worked. I used to be an asshole. I used to think I was the you know, very prideful, thought I was the baddest motherfucker on earth and nobody could tell me shit. Now I know that can be changed just like that, you know, because I've lost my health. And when I was like that, I wouldn't be fighting nobody. You know, so um, yeah, I just feel like it was all for a reason. And you know, I got my Bibles right here, bro, and then this is what I'm on now, bro, and it's been life changing.
Do you have anything that you want people to know you for when this is all said and done?
Yeah, my main thing is always I just want to be one of the best rappers to ever do this shit, bro. You know, money, fame, that's all great, but I just want to be known as one of, you know, the best artists, bro. Like that's my main goal, was just to try to be, still to this day. I'm not to that point where I'm like I'm the GOAT. You know, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to do new shit. I'm trying to still, because I know there's always room for improvement. There's always new shit that I can learn. So that's my thing. I'm always trying to level up. I don't ever want to fall off. That's one of my biggest fears. What if I just, you know, one day I just, you know, fucking don't know how to rap anymore, or, you know, something changes. So I'm always striving, trying to learn new shit, studying stuff, trying to expand my vocabulary, you know, and just fucking try to be the best artist I can be. But that's what I want to be remembered for, mostly. And then you know, I guess politically, the fact that, you know, that I made a stand and fucking didn't back down when shit got serious, bro.
No, you're the most banned underground rapper in existence. Where
Yeah,
should I be sending people
100%.
to go find your music, to go find your music and buy merch and, you know, whatever else you have available?
Yeah, so I keep a link tree up at all times, and that stays updated. If a Facebook profile goes down, as soon as there's a new one, I'll post the new one on the link tree, and that's just Linktree/Playboy the Beast. And that
Awesome.
has, yeah, that has merged. That has the YouTube, Telegram groups, all that shit. So
Perfect. Well,
yeah,
go check them out, guys. Definitely somebody I've been following for a very long time. So it's been an honor to sit down, hear your whole story from beginning to end. It's been a roller coaster, man, for sure. So,
oh yeah, thank you, bro.
yeah, no, pleasure's all mine. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Anything you want to say to the people before we dip out of here?
Uh, let me think. I know there is. I'm just trying to think because I know as soon as we fucking hang this shit up, I'm like, oh man, I
No,
wish
you're
I would
good.
have said that. I would just like to speak on the shit that's going on right now, with them trying to create racial division between people. I just want to try to, bring awareness to that and let people know, white people, black people, we're not enemies. These people that are trying to cause this division, those are the enemies. You know what I'm saying? Like, the majority of white people do not hate black people. The majority of black people do not hate white people. We have a lot in common, and we just need to see through the bullshit because we're being manipulated. You know what I'm saying? Like this Austin Foreman situation that's going on, and all that stuff. And this is just the beginning. There's going to be a lot more of this stuff going on right now because they want to paint Trump as a white supremacist. They want to paint all of his supporters as Klan members and shit. And that's just not the case, bro. You see my skin, you see how I am. Wasn't a predominantly black organization my whole life, and it's just not the case. So I just urge people to not fall for the bullshit from social media, mainstream news, all that shit. Do independent research, think for yourself, bro, and just try to you know be united.
Well, again, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you, bro.
My name's Joe K, and it's just another day in the underground.